It's confirmed. We have a massive new update surrounding one particular player as it pertains to the Boston Celtics, and this update changes the outlook of Brad Stevens and his plans going forward. We're going to break down this report and discuss what this means as Brad Stevens continues to prepare for big moves, as well as some interesting other updates surrounding the Celtics that you're going to want to stay tuned for. But before we get into it all, folks, if you're a part of the percentage or aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Celtics content. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys again for continued support over here as we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. You guys have been beasts with the support. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot to go over today. And obviously, Celtics are in an interesting spot. They still have some moves to make. There's still some transactions that are going to go down. And across the NBA, things have really started to, pick up. But also at the same time, we're going to get some resolutions here soon. But a brand new report has dropped from one player in particular that we're all familiar with, and it is Al Horford. And the unrealistic expectation coming into this offseason, or rather, kind of unrealistic, was to retain both Luke Kornet and Al Horford. Brad Stevens came out and said that he wanted to do so, and obviously that was going to be a big task for him to be able to pull that off. He said that in the press conference, and a brand new report dropped yesterday from Brian Windhorst, kind of sealing the fate of Al Horford and his time in Boston. And folks, it is confirmed his future won't be with the Boston Celtics. Brian Windhorst, the only options for Horford are retirement, the Warriors, or the Lakers. Celtics not even in the running. And things have kind of taken an interesting turn for the Al Horford situation. And really for the Celtics, offseason in general. Of course, leading up to the draft, there was a bunch of talks about trading, Jaylen Brown, trading Derrick White. Of course, they needed to both trade Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porziņģis, and they did decent in those trades. Now, I do think more trades are coming in the sense and in the form of potentially and most likely guys like Anthony Simons to get under the luxury tax and get out of the first apron. However, surrounding Al Horford, it doesn't seem like the Celtics this offseason are really playing for, a competitive team next year. And maybe that's a hot take, but this new report, basically, for a while, we were always thinking in the back of our mind, okay, maybe Al Horford, and hopefully Al Horford would just be able to return to the Celtics, kind of not retire, and help this team maybe make some sort of push in the Eastern Conference next year with the new reformed team. Not going to be the case. He would rather retire than return to the Celtics. Of course, the Warriors and the Lakers are the two options. The Warriors currently seem to be the favorites to land Al, and then, of course, Los Angeles Lakers are close seconds. Celtics aren't even named in a lot of these reports, and it's very unfortunate. And a report dropped, another one an hour ago, from Brett Siegel. Someone asked him, is Horford debating retirement, or is there a team he's debating between Golden State? And of course, I was hoping to see, and Celtics fans were probably hoping to see Al Horford with the Celtics being one of the final teams running. But to his knowledge, Warriors have made the biggest push, but the Lakers have remained involved, and retirement is still on the table as well. I do not know of other options as of last night, which means, at least not publicly, the Celtics aren't even entertaining really an Al Horford reunion. And it's interesting because we think back to what Brad Stevens said a few weeks ago, and he basically said that bringing back Kornet and Al Horford are kind of an utmost priority for him, and that would have required, of course, a lot of different changes to this team. Now, whether that be changes regarding, not necessarily, this was, of course, before the Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porziņģis trade. You look at Al Horford, he obviously helped the Celtics win a championship. You would have liked to bring him back. He's a good veteran presence, especially a guy in the locker room for a year where it's going to be a tough year for Celtics and Celtics fans, right? Because you look at it, Jayson Tatum's gone. You got rid of your two, some of your best players, and Jrue Holiday, one of your most important pieces. It's going to be an interesting year. Jaylen Brown, Anthony Simons centered, team. And you don't really have a center, at this juncture, and one, at least, a center compared to, of course, Al Horford, and at least when it comes to, the veteran experience that Al Horford brings. And that's obviously the biggest thing that they're going to be missing here now with, of course, Big Al gone. And of course, they brought in Luka Garza. He's not going to be what Al Horford is or was. Now, again, you could argue that maybe Luka Garza has some higher upside. Al Horford, 38, going to be 39 years old. Like, he's slower, but I would have liked to bring Al Horford back. I think back to what he said, and he would prefer that doesn't happen when asked about, Kornet and Horford leaving. Maybe Brad Stevens puts in some random Godfather offer. They can't even do that, but to Al Horford at the end here. As you look at the rest of the team, what we're trying to do, there is no question our priorities would be to bring Al and Luke back. And he said those guys are huge parts of the organization. That was a couple weeks ago. Didn't happen. Luke Kornet went to the Spurs. The Celtics were never going to match that offer. He got over $40 million. Like, that was just something that the Celtics were never going to do. Congratulations to Luke. Of course, the best, year, career year, and then he gets paid for it. And he'll fit well in San Antonio. He has some good advanced analytics. And if you watched him actually play for the Celtics, a very serviceable backup big, which is what he's going to be behind Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. De'Aaron Fox, he's going to have a fantastic few years there. But for the Celtics, we know it's a huge offseason of change. Are they going to be competing for a playoff spot next year? Hopefully they got rid of Jrue, they got rid of Kristaps Porziņģis. And Al now is 39 years old, and he spent 7 seasons with Boston. Of course, 2 different stints. He averaged 11.6 rebounds per game in his career with the Celtics, and we know how important he was to both their trip to the finals back a few years ago in 2022, but also their championship run in a couple years back now. And he's still very useful. And I wanted to bring up this here because it was an interesting quote, and it kind of shed some light on A, the lack of options the Celtics now have if they want to address the center position further than Luka Garza, and B, just how he's still useful. That's not to say Horford is without his uses. Last year, he again provided an uncommonly versatile defense, 3-point shooting, and veteran savvy in the front court. In fact, his continued age-defying production is part of the reason he won't be back in Boston. Several contenders will come calling, and at least one is likely to offer much more than the Celtics are willing to pay. We would assume that's going to be, the Golden State Warriors. Reports came out that the Lakers are currently offering Al Horford $5 million with their biannual exception. Will the Warriors give him their MLE, or if they have that left? Of course, they could offer him $8 to $9 million. I don't think the Celtics are going to want to do that, but he's still a very, very good player. And how good he was last year, despite his age, is part of the reason, like the article mentioned, that he's not going to be most likely a Celtic next year and that it's confirmed that he's going to be gone. It's because he played himself either A, out of a contract in the sense of too much money to return to Boston, or B, he's going to retire. And if he retires, then of course, that's good for him and all those things. Either way, of course, I'm never going to hate on Al Horford. He's a Celtics legend here to a degree. But again, the Golden State Warriors seem to be the most obvious fit here at this juncture for the, Al Horford. Obviously, you can see here, it feels like we're at a bit of a holding pattern, he said. And this was, of course, according to a, reporter, Young Masuk. All league sources around the league are telling me that they still hear Al Horford's name with the Warriors. They can do that before Jonathan Kuminga. And of course, reports have dropped that Jonathan Kuminga and the Kings are trying to work out a deal swap for Malik Monk for Jonathan Kuminga, but they can get Al Horford done before then. And of course, Al Horford, again, let me know down below what your thoughts are. Ultimately, he's a very important piece. His age-defying seasons, he's still a fantastic player, one of the best players that we've, one of the most crucial players, I should say, that we had in the Celtics championship run and their finals run. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But unfortunately for Al, it is over there. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. But before I wrap up, I also do want to go over the Celtics' presumable summer league roster and some interesting guys to look out for. And we're going to have a video coming out in Kenny Lofton here soon. But you look at some of the other just guys around. Baylor Shireman, Max Zolga, Hayden Gray, of course, the pick Hugo Gonzalez is going to be very interesting, but he is to be determined. Hopefully, he will be able to, play in the summer league to see what their, recent draft pick does. Baylor Shireman's obviously going to be one of the most interesting ones. Kenny Lofton, again, the Celtics have a lack of center depth. Maybe they could bring him in and he could compete for a spot, a big guy. And then, of course, you go through the rest of the guys, Jalen Bridge, Aaron Scott, Zach Hicks, and Amari Williams, and Ben Gregg. Probably have room for one more guy. Let us know down below in the comment section, out of these players, who are you most excited about? Maybe aside from Hugo Gonzalez, considering that he is currently to be determined, dealing with some things. So it's going to be interesting, folks. But fortunate reality is Al Horford, he is no longer going to be a Celtic. And as Summer League inches closer and closer, it's becoming more and more of a reality. But that'll wrap it up. You guys have been absolutely fantastic with support. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. You guys have been beasts. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.